This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though? It is another Tuesday. We have survived, and it's almost the end of 2021 in this bitch. So we got a lot to talk about that's happened in the world of pro wrestling in the year 2021. As you can see in the description, if you guys are just joining, thank you for joining the stream. I want to know, who in the fuck are you guys picking for your favorite matches, your favorite wrestler, whether it's male or female? Who do you think? We've even got some outside the box ones if I had the pencil predictions for 2022. So if you guys have got any wild hair up your ass predictions that you want to throw out there, throw them out in the comments. We want to know who you think is wrestler of the year, what you think was match of the year. We want to know what were your top 5 moments of the year. We want to talk about all of your favorites in the world of pro wrestling. And J-Bone and I were a little bit busy last night at Monday Night Raw. So before we get into our picks and all that stuff, I figure maybe we should talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw, seeing as not only was it the first one back here in Detroit since COVID ended, it's also the last Raw before WWE Day 1 that goes down this Saturday on New Year's Day. Hopefully we can get J-Bone out here. We're going to have a few people together. We're going to be watching the pay-per-view. It's going to be a good time. So before we get started, all of you guys who are joining the stream, please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, all that shit. Any questions you got or any picks you want to throw in there, throw them in the comments. But with that being said, J-Bone, how are you feeling, number one? And number two, what are your thoughts on Monday Night Raw from here in Detroit?
First of all, man, I'm tired as hell. We were out late last night.
You old ass man.
Hey, you know it, man. I was out there late. I didn't get home until about 12:30. I woke up at like 5. I'm beat. But hey, man, here we are. Best podcast in the world. One of the best years in professional wrestling. If you ask me, I'm ready to break it down, man. But as far as Monday Night Raw goes, man, hell yeah. Rest in peace, John Madden.
Rest in peace, John Madden. Hold on.
Yeah.
Before we get off of that, thank you for throwing that out, Wiggs. I appreciate you. Shout out to John Madden. If you try to tell me you didn't grow up playing Madden, I'm going to just assume that you didn't like sports. So, yes, rest in peace, John Madden. But, dude, my sister didn't know who the fuck John Madden was. I was like, dude, all you got to do is tell her the Madden video game. Where do you think that shit come from? But, man, and to think that the man died today and they just did that big special for him on Christmas Day. Was it Christmas Day or Christmas night or the day after?
Yeah,
it was
Christmas night.
Yeah, it was Christmas night. They had the whole John Madden memorial, which I think is very well deserved. I mean, his impact on football is insane. Since we're throwing out rest in pieces here, we also got to say rest in peace to the big homie Marcus Crane, who died yesterday as well. If you guys are fans of our buddies over at Wrestling with Unicorns or GCW or ICW No Holds Barred, you probably know who Marcus Crane is. So rest in peace, John Madden. Rest in peace, Marcus Crane. And like Nick Gage says to his brother, Justice Payne. It's almost time for January 14th, GCW. I just went through the whole rigmarole of trying to get that day off, so we'll see what happens. But I will be in the motherfucking building for GCW. Ricky Morton, past guest of the show, is going to be in the building. And hell, another guy who we ran into last night at Monday Night Raw, past guest of the show, Darren motherfucking McCarty, is going to be in the building as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to GCW. But what are your thoughts on GCW and what are your thoughts on Monday Night Raw last night?
Man, first of all, Raw was off the hook, dude. I don't care what anybody says. A lot of people are saying this whole WWE thing is dying down and the crowds are, getting worse. Man, not in Detroit. Detroit was on fire last night. And for what we were given last night on Monday Night Raw, considering the COVID thing and everything, the champs weren't there. There was a lot of top superstars. Seth Rollins weren't there. Becky Lynch wasn't there. They put on a hell of a show, if you ask me, for the Detroit crowd.
I'm with you on that one, dude. That crowd was absolutely jam-packed. I was very pleased with what we saw as far as how many people were in the building, especially with all the shit that's been being talked online about how there being so little people at WWE shows. Now, to be fair, this is the after Christmas show, so they usually sell well with that. But I mean, dude, other than like the tippy top, I mean, that bitch was like, was pretty full, dude.
Yeah, it was
just
cool,
look
man.
at the simple fact of like the Lions games, the Pistons games, the Wings games, even here for the last couple seasons. Like the fact that those games still proceed to sell for the most part are well over 50% capacity, especially when you're talking like the Lions. They're basically a sellout every single week still, and they've been playing losing football since I've been born.
That's because Detroit don't play.
We always show up to support. You know, whenever there's an event in town, we're always out there to attend it. So it doesn't really surprise me in that regard that the crowd showed up, you know, ready to go.
So how are you feeling about Raw, man? That was your nephew's first WWE event, and shout out to Little Caesars hooking you guys up with the suite, even though you should have waited for your boy. But hey,
we got hooked up, man. It was cool. He had a blast, and like you said, LCA, man, they were on point. As soon as we walked in the door, they seen us with the wheelchair. Little dude broke his foot, man, so he couldn't walk. As soon as we
appreciate you. Keep them reactions coming in. Let us know in the comments if you're watching. We're getting ready to make our picks for the best of 2021. Like I said, I want to know who the fuck you guys are picking. Shane Adams, we appreciate you, kind sir.
Yeah, Pontiac stand up.
Hell yeah.
Man. They walked us right up in there like, here's some better tickets, here's some comfortable seating. You don't got to walk up no stairs. Put us right in a little box, man, little mini suite. So we were all set. So shout out to Little Caesars Arena for that, man. That was cool.
Yeah.
So to go along with what you were saying, I thought it was overall, man, especially for it being a show that is like a go-home show, being the last show before a pay-per-view, I felt bad for them in a lot of ways because was it the most entertaining show I've ever been to live? Not really. But at the same time, like you said, when 3 out of the 4 people in your world championship main event are out because of COVID, your entire women's championship main event is gone because Becky Lynch, newsflash, is the wife to Seth Rollins, who we found out has COVID. So no big surprise there. And since Liv Morgan is her opponent, not a big surprise that she wasn't there either. But that's something like they made the best they could with what they had, like showing those videos. But man, I feel like if any of the matches that are going to be on WWE Day 1 needed like that extra kind of like to it, I feel like, Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch might have taken a hit not being able to have like that last show, to kind of go into Day 1. What do you think, J-Mon?
Yeah, I agree, man. They just needed that little last push, that last little reel you in for the go home show, man. They didn't get that this time. And it's known in wrestling. You need that. That's very critical for your go home shows, that last little push to grab some more fans in, man. So they lucked out on that one, but I think they're going to put on a good show on Saturday.
I do too, man. Go ahead.
In that kind of circumstance, I mean, anytime you're leading into a pay-per-view, you always kind of, anybody who's on the fence, anybody, the quote-unquote casuals that may catch it, you want to reel them in as much as possible. So, yeah, like, COVID definitely got in the way, it sounds like, in that regard.
Especially on the holiday, man. The holidays, all the families are sitting around watching the TV, man, and just a string of bad luck with the COVID situation, and that's all. So they'll get through it, though. They always do. They did it all year. So
now, question: did you guys go back and watch the broadcast after the fact, or did you guys just?
I haven't gotten to, but I have it recorded.
Yeah.
We were talking about that too. Like, if we could get, so there should be something to where you could watch live while you're at the arena and listen to the broodcast. Or
for anybody that's watching this, if you're fans of wrestling, I want your opinions in the comments. Would you be a fan of if while you're at a wrestling event, if there was some kind of speaker or like a TV system maybe inside the arena so that you could hear the commentary played through the arena? Or do you like the, on-site live feel of being there that it doesn't have the commentary? Do you think that adding the commentary to wrestling when you're there live would add to the experience? I want to know. Let me know in the fucking comments. What are your thoughts, though, man? Would you like to hear the commentary?
I've literally said this my whole life. Not to, I seen you were about to jump in, but
No,
I've
you're good,
literally
go ahead.
said this my whole life with every single sporting event, and that's actually a big reason why I enjoy staying home, is because it really does add another layer to me being able to hear like the true professionals that are paid to do their position break down the fights, the games, whatever the case be. Like when you're at a basketball game and stuff like that, like it's cool hearing Detroit basketball every
Yeah.
5 minutes, but it's also a lot cooler hearing them actually break down what's going on in game. And especially with my cheap ass up in the high rises up there, you know. But I've always said that my whole life, and now that the technology is more widely available, even if it was just something as simple as like a headphone jack that was attached to every seat that would allow you to join in, or an app that you could download through the, you know, whatever the case be.
Yeah.
I feel like they should include that in the modern production, I guess you could say.
That's what I was going to say too. They can make an app for just about anything. They could probably
Mm-hmm.
somehow get an app going for that. At least a beta. Let's try it, man, and see what happens.
Right.
You know what I
Or
mean?
just offer it as like a ticket package where you, for an extra $10 or $15 on your ticket price, you can buy these, you know, Bluetooth headphones that are already they're already attached to this big, you know, server that's broadcasting it throughout the venue,
Right.
and you can pay it. You can give them back for a $10 core charge, or you can keep these shitty headphones. Up to you.
So
You know?
here's a thought I had that goes into that, and I wonder if maybe this is why you might not see that in wrestling or even in fighting too. But I wonder if the reason why we haven't seen anything like that yet is because you got to think, especially in wrestling, you know, they got people in their ear telling them like when you got to go to commercial, like what kind of stuff they want you to get over, that kind of stuff. So I wonder if the reason why that's never been implemented is because they also don't want to have people being able to hear, you know, what's going on in the headsets that way, because I would imagine it's got to be very similar. Not only, even if you were at a fight scenario, like a UFC thing, I'm sure that with all the production that goes into it, they probably don't want people hearing that. I would guess that might be the biggest reason why we don't have that. But I mean, like I say, it was an interesting thought. Plus, I mean, obviously, we're a little bit biased to the commentary on Monday Night Raw currently because we just had Jimmy Smith on the show. Jimmy, I heard your voice was going out on you last night. I got to go back so I can hear the whole thing, but hopefully you get better soon. Didn't get to link up with him, but we did get to link up with Darren McCarty, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But if you guys missed our episodes with Darren McCarty or Jimmy Smith from Monday Night Raw, you can check them out if you hit that subscribe button down there in the right-hand corner so that you can check it out after you're done watching this one. So to wrap a bow on Monday Night Raw, we already talked a little bit about how they were missing a few people. But I would definitely say that the wedding vow renewal or the wedding of Miz and Maurice might have saved that whole show. Miz is a fucking pro, clear from tripping up the stairs, getting into the ring, to then to have Edge come out. Now, I was at SummerSlam. Ring the bell. Ha, Devin, there's no bell for you to ring, bitch. Hope you feel better. But that being said, when Edge came out at SummerSlam, they did the Brood entrance. So for them to go pull that out the bag again for the Edge and Maurice and, Miz thing, especially when another past guest of the show was officiating the damn thing, Detroit's own Eric Bischoff was back in the motherfucking building in Detroit and was the officiant. And I mean, I threw this out on Twitter, which you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. If you haven't already done so, make sure you follow those. But, I was trying to get an over-under on how long people thought that this wedding vow renewal ceremony was going to go. Because, if you know anything about past guests of the show, Eric Bischoff, usually when he's in the ring for these kind of things, they got an over-under of about 3 minutes. So I was just trying to see if it lasted more than 3 minutes. Did I just hear myself say 3 minutes? Well, hey, shout out to Big Rosie, a.k.a. Umaga. what are your thoughts on that, man? Do you think he should get put in the WWE Hall of Fame? Do you think Umaga should go into the 2022 class of the Hall of Fame? Rikishi's pushing for it hard. Do you think Umaga deserves a spot when we get to Dallas this year?
I do. Yeah, I think so, man, because he's one of those guys he had a major impact when he came in as Umaga. I mean, I know he did some stuff before, but as Umaga, he had a major impact for the short time that he was there. He did a lot of things, and what a badass heel, if you ask me. So, absolutely.
I agree with you, and let's not forget, it was here in Detroit. Ring the bell again. I was at that bitch! But it was here in Detroit in 2007, WrestleMania 23. I mean, our now former president, Donald Trump, took on Vince McMahon, and Umaga was Vince McMahon's hand-picked assassin to take on Bobby Lashley and Donald Trump at WrestleMania, and Umaga came up on the short end of the stick that night, but, I mean, and Vince McMahon got shaved bald by Stone Cold, and, I mean, a little bit of Stone Cold is never a bad thing in anybody's life. I am looking forward to WrestleMania purely just for the fact that it's going to be 100,000 motherfuckers in there both nights going ape shit for when that glass breaks. So, yeah, if I come back on Tuesday and we can't do a show on Tuesday because I can't talk, you'll know why. But that being said,
you holding up flashcards.
Look, bro, Stone Cold is that deal. I will be the first to say it here. We're talking about our favorite matches and things of 2021, but my all-time favorite always has been and always will be Stone Cold. Now, I'm not saying I think he's the greatest wrestler of all time. My personal favorite is Stone Cold, though. So, now that we've talked about Monday Night Raw, now that we've talked about all the other stuff, and before I get out of here, we ran into D-Mac last night. We ran into Darren motherfucking McCarty. So if you're a Detroit sports fan, or even Vanessa and or no, it was Vanessa. I said her name wrong. Excuse me. I'm trying to read off the thing here. Sophia from Canada. Excuse me. I'm sorry if you hear this. Feel free to talk shit in the comments. But, we asked you on social media. I wanted some of your guys' picks for this stuff. And Sophia in Canada is one of the most loyal listeners we've got right now. Donald, if you're watching this, feel free to throw your comments in there as well. We know you're always in there. But I asked you guys on social media at KO3CPod, who were some of your guys' picks for some of these categories? And Sophia was kind enough to send me her picks. So before we get into our picks, I'm going to read you Sophia's picks. And if you disagree with her picks, please tell me why in the comments. If you agree with them, please tell me why in the comments. But, all right. We're starting off hot. Male wrestler of the year, Roman Reigns. I have no problem with that. I mean, dude, he's had a hell of a year. Been champion the entire year. Yeah, Roman Reigns is kind of hard to argue with. Match of the year, she says it's a tie between Sasha and Bianca from this year's WrestleMania and Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega at AEW Revolution. She's talking about the exploding barbed wire match that didn't go boom. Hey, I was there. I was in that bitch, and it didn't go boom. Hell, I think I know why it didn't go boom, but you have to go back and listen to the old episodes to hear why I think it didn't go boom. But, let's see. Pay-per-view of the year. I agree 100. What the fuck? So whoever that is that just commented that shit in the comments, like I'm just gonna throw it out here. We don't discriminate around here, so I don't fuck with the Ku Klux Klan, and I don't fuck with Hitler. Right, and I don't fuck with Hitler. So yeah, man, I don't know what the hell this guy's talking about, but I can't understand it because it's not in English, number one, and number two, by judging by the name you got on there, I don't fuck with Ku Klux Klan, and I don't fuck with Adolf Hitler. So hey, man, just saying. I answer what happens in the comments, but
I am a lifelong YouTube user. Like that's my site all day. But how the fuck did this guy get a username like that approved on YouTube? I really do not understand that. I'm gonna
get out of here, you jerk off.
I mean, like I said, I don't fuck with that kind of stuff around here. If you guys are in the comments, feel free to light them up. I ain't scared. But back to Sophia's picks. She said pay-per-view of the year, and I agree 100% with this. Obviously we'll talk about it when I get to my picks. Pay-per-view of the year. She says AEW All Out. Ring the bell. We were in the building for that bitch too. Mm-hmm. Promotion of the year. She says WWE had a lot of good. Wow. Okay, I'm surprised by that one. All right, WWE had a lot of good pay-per-views in a row this year. Both promotions were good, but I'm going to give it to WWE this time. Comeback of the year. She said CM Punk returning to wrestling. Thank you, Jay. Jay reported that dumb fuck. I appreciate it. Hey man, we don't play that shit this way. Ain't no racist in our blood, so yeah, I don't play with that stuff. But anyway, CM Punk's return. She says that's comeback of the year. She says his returning to wrestling after 7 years away was definitely the comeback of the year. Incredible moment and promo. It meant a lot to see him back. It's great to see him in AEW. Tag team of the year. She says the New Day. The New Day is her pick for tag team of the year. I didn't pick them for my tag team of the year this year, but I mean, if we're talking about greatest tag teams of all time, or at least in WWE, New Day has to be in most everybody's conversation. And if you're following me at Detroit Knockout, see it says there in the left corner. If you look at it, I had my New Day coat on, courtesy of the homies at Chalkline. You know, if you hear this, Chalkline, you know, we can use a sponsorship. I will gladly wear a Chalkline on this motherfucker every day if you want. But, yeah. Tag team of the year, she says New Day. And she says feud of the year. She says Seth Rollins versus Edge. The trilogy of matches were fantastic. The dream match we wanted came true, and we got 3 matches out of it. Each one better than the last one. Okay. I don't have any problem with the Edge versus Seth Rollins pick either, because Edge versus Seth Rollins is in my top 5 matches. Hey, I was there for that one of them too, that one at SummerSlam, which personally I thought was my favorite one of the 3, although the one at Crown Jewel was really good too. Jay, you got to let me know, what do you think of Sophia's picks over here? I want to know, who are you picking? We're about to go through we're going to go through these picks. What are your guys' thoughts on Sophia's picks for 2021?
My thoughts, they were pretty solid. I even commented back and said, don't be surprised if you see too many of these in my list, because, I mean, to be honest with you, like the CM Punk one, I feel like is more so like a write-in. There's no like that one is what it is. Like there's hard to argue. The only other person I could see maybe as like comeback would be like Moxley, but we can get into that further when we get into the list. But I thought her list was pretty solid, other than the fact that, not to call her out a little bit, but she seems a little bit WWE bias there. She seems to.
I got a feeling we're gonna get a lot of that
in one direction.
I think people are gonna pick apart these picks later on. I'm like, hey, you watch this more than you watch this, but that's all right. Hey, we're here. It's opinion based.
We appreciate our friends from Canada, all right? We appreciate our friends from across the border. I appreciate that you took your time to send your picks across the border in the North Pole and all that shit and getting them to us for this. So like I said, we like our friends from Canada. The next time I'm in Canada, if you watch this, maybe I'll see you in Canada. But now that we've gotten her picks out of the way, I will let both of you gentlemen be the first to pick category. So whoever wants to go first, what category do y'all motherfuckers want to talk about first?
You go first.
I guess we'll start with, let's just read it off as we had it posted. Make it traditional. Make it how we had it listed off on our.
So, are we going with male wrestler of the year first? That's what we're going with first.
Yeah, I feel as though that's usually
all right. Well, since you're saying that's the way we should go, who is your pick for male wrestler of the year and why? You have to give a reason with these fucking picks.
Lead the way, J-Bone.
No. He told you to pick this one. You start this one. This is your top.
So I have to also.
Hell yeah, you're picking and you're starting. That's how we roll on this bitch. Right on the hot seat. Who you picking and why?
For male wrestler of the year, I feel as though it boils down to like a couple people really, and that's what has been my issue kind of with this pick. Is you could go yet again across promotions. There's so many different options. You wouldn't be wrong in just picking like the the write-in of like a Roman Reigns or something. But I'm actually going to dig in from what I had posed a question to you guys just a couple weeks ago, because I had seen it posed all over Twitter myself, and that being Bryan Danielson. He did such an amazing job. Every single match, even though he's not a champion holder, he's done such an amazing job at building his fanfare that much more with every match that he's had. And with a match going to a draw, that's not usually the case, especially an hour-long match. And to get the kind of fanfare that he's gotten from those, I feel like that from the less educated perspective, from not viewing all of this and, you know, kind of taking my perspective from like a circle of opinions that I trust in the wrestling world, I feel as though that seems to be a pretty solid pick.
Okay.
Like
I'm not mad at Bryan Danielson. So,
I like that.
J-Bone, who is male wrestler of the year? And all of you guys watching, throw them in the comments. Who do you guys got? Male wrestler of the year. I want to know, who is it? Let me know who you got in the comments.
For me, it's cut and dry, man. Very easy for me to pick Roman Reigns with maybe one of the best Universal title runs, probably the best Universal title run in the history of the title. That dude single-handedly, for me, don't forget, this is opinion-based. This is just for me. Single-handedly kept me watching WWE.
So that means you got to send all your hate mail to @JBoneShow.
I'm taking it. Hey, check this out. 2 years ago, I wasn't a Roman Reigns guy. I didn't care for Roman Reigns. You do all this now. You're bringing Paul Heyman, all that long-term storytelling. That dude single-handedly kept WWE afloat for me all year long. Like I said, the best Universal title reign of all time. And dude's still kicking ass. Think of the guys he beat this year. John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Daniel Bryan, Edge. He beat them all, man. Everybody thrown his way, and he beat them all. So
Finn Balor. I mean, you keep going down the list.
The list goes on, dude. So it's hard for me not to pick Roman Reigns.
Yep. All right. Well, I chose to go last, so don't say I'm copying nobody's motherfucking picks out here. But I think that Roman Reigns is hands down got to be superstar of the year. Now, I also have on my list that if I had a runner-up, it would have been Bryan Danielson, because before I explain why I picked Roman Reigns, I mean, you got to look at it from this sense. The reason why Bryan Danielson is not a pick that anyone could really scoff at, in my opinion, is because, like you just said, the man wrestled in one of the main events in WrestleMania. He main evented an AEW pay-per-view. He's had 2 hour-long draws already, or 2 draws already in AEW, one being an hour long on TV. Now, an hour long on TV. Now, J-Bone, after we were just there at Raw and you got to sit through the commercials and all that. Mm-hmm. This is why when you asked me, Corey, about this match, did they really go the whole hour? Really, they went longer than an hour because they have to wrestle through all of those commercials.
Yeah.
Wildness. That's such fucking wildness.
Like, you got an hour on TV,
and Hangman was bleeding for the majority of that bitch too.
For something to go that long with people's modern day shortest attention span, and the people are calling, like, people will say TikTok videos are too long, you know. So like for somebody to sit down and watch an hour long match like that, and for, I would say, like, it was almost uniformly that people loved it, you know. So for something like that to go that long and to get that kind of fanfare, it's crazy, honestly.
I mean, and to keep it going and it to be entertaining like that, such a credit to Bryan Danielson and Hangman, which also makes it all the more interesting, seeing as we know now Hangman and Danielson got to run it back. So, like I said, and when you throw out that they had Danielson face somebody from each, somebody from the Dark Order each week, and he kicked out past guest of the motherfucking show, Colt Cabana. They kicked out Colt Cabana's teeth. Like, why'd you have to go do my man's Colt like that? Like, he kicked out his teeth and then held them up to the camera in his hands. That's another thing to talk about here is, like, the mood swing the character, not even the character change, but the attitude change that we've gotten from Bryan Danielson in 2021, because this is a far cry from the yes of the WWE. Like I said, big fan of that, but for my pick, it has to be Roman Reigns for me. Like I said, the fact that story was able to go for the better part of the last year, it's still not done with now that Paul Heyman is now back with Brock Lesnar. The clear back to the stuff when they first brought the Usos back in. Like I said, Roman Reigns has stepped up above and beyond and shown why now. I don't think there's anybody that can really say why do they keep trying to, put the rocket on Roman Reigns. At this point, I feel like he's more than solidified his spot and shown that he can handle it. That being said, hopefully with WWE saying that they're not requiring people to be tested for COVID anymore, hopefully it doesn't mean that we may not see the big dog around, or I shouldn't say the big dog, the tribal chief around, because everybody knows that he fights against cancer. So he had which one was it he had, J-Bone?
Leukemia.
Leukemia, yeah. So he had to go home for a few months because he's got leukemia. So I'm hoping that with this whole coronavirus getting worse again, hopefully it stays away from our tribal chief. Hopefully it stays away from everybody. But for my male superstar of the year, I am picking the tribal chief. I will acknowledge him as my male wrestler of the year. All right. We started with the men. Well, now we got to switch to the female side of things. So, J-Bone, you're up. Who's your pick?
Ooh, this one I really had to sit down and think about this one, man. This was tough for me, but I'm going to settle. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to settle for Bianca Belair. Starting at the beginning of the year, Royal Rumble winner, great WrestleMania match. Was it Sasha, right? Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. And then all the way up to the whole Becky Lynch thing. And then she started, the whole decline. But out of nowhere, Bianca Belair was a top star, man. And she carried the year pretty well, I would say. So that's my top female superstar of the year.
All right, Corey, who you got?
So we're now we're just doing it, me and him, and then you just always.
Hell yeah, I get to press all the buttons on this bitch. I get to pick the order. How do you know that I'm not dropping you into the Hunger Games next? That's why you got to hit that subscribe button, and maybe I won't drop you into the Hunger Games too. But yeah, like I said, what is your pick for female superstar of the year?
I really weighed that one, and yet again, like you had said with the whole Bianca Belair thing, being that was when I had first started to really do more studying for the show, to be honest with you, because I'm still not a regular watcher of wrestling. But when I really started to come over to Kyle's house for the big events and stuff like that, and really make sure
you're coming through for day one this weekend to watch with us, ain't you?
When it's the first, you said
Saturday night.
So that's the first.
Yeah,
not
New Year's Eve.
Okay, so yeah, I should be able to then.
I like these Saturday pay-per-views, as I heard that they say that now that WWE is kind of going to try to follow the trend a little bit this year that we've seen from AEW and everywhere else, that they are going to have a lot more Saturday pay-per-views this year. So we're going to have to see how that plays out.
It just makes more sense. It really does.
I like the Saturday pay-per-views, man, but I also like the old school feel of the Sundays as long as they can be done by 11, because Sunday always was WWE's day.
That's the whole thing. That's actually was literally the point I was about to make, is us being on the East Coast. It's so much harder to balance the schedule out so that everybody can get it in a relatively prime time market time. Because think about the West Coast right now. It's still 6 o'clock now. People are just now getting home from work.
Yeah.
So it's it's such a different dilemma. So to keep both markets happy, I feel like Saturday is the only real way you can do it, because you got to push these event times so that they at least end over there at the 10 o'clock, 10:30 or something like that. Because you think about it, a 1 o'clock event over here, that's still only 11 o'clock over there, and their night's now over. So it's I get it, and that's where I feel like Saturday works a lot better for that type of stuff for sure.
All right,
Not
so
to
who's your
mention, I'm
pick on
old.
the
I like
female
what I said
side?
earlier.
So, like I said, I had weighed what J Bone had said with Bianca Belair a lot because I had seen such a growth in her, and that was like one of my biggest, like, two.
You said that was one of your
women
stickouts
color.
at Mania.
Yeah, that's what, and I stick by that. And the fact that it was two women of color that led WrestleMania night and stuff, and actually capped it off with like a big cherry on top. It was a great match. There was no letdowns. There was no nothing like that. I really did weigh that really hard into my opinion. And then I was weighing like somebody, even though the division's so light over in AEW, I was like, does DMD deserve it because of her run through AEW? Like, she's been arguably like untouched throughout, basically. But I did end up falling back on, like you said, just because of that WrestleMania night, man. You could really, if Sasha wasn't taking so much time off after that match, you could really have said either one of them had an amazing year. Becky Lynch had a great year, other than the fact that she wasn't super active until as of late. So it's like
She was doing the mom deal.
Yeah, it's hard to include her in it necessarily because she was up there as well with what happened with the whole Charlotte Flair thing and stuff. So, but I did end up falling back on the Bianca Belair. I feel as though it was like the solid standout pick of the year.
Well, I'm gonna go the opposite here. Bianca Belair is definitely a good choice. I was really kind of tied between two people, honestly. I'm gonna give Dr. DMD, hit that subscribe button. The nod here for my female superstar of the year. She was look. Even if you listen to the promo between CM Punk and MJF, right? CM Punk told MJF, "You've been replaced as one of the four pillars of AEW by Britt Baker." She overnight with that match that she had with Thunder Rosa, became a star with that banger of a match they had, and that's why Thunder Rosa was actually my runner-up for that. The reason I picked Britt Baker is because she's had the title for so long and had a dominant reign like that. To me, that's kind of what edged her out over Thunder Rosa, the same way Roman Reigns kind of was edged out in the male superstar of the year for me over Bryan Danielson. For me, though, like I said, Britt Baker, I saw a lot of her stuff on the indies and things like that, but she has really, like they said, become one of the pillars of AEW. She has become not just one of the best female stars, one of the biggest stars that they have in AEW. Case in point, the fact that the crowd chants along every time, DMD. Look, dude. Look, and hey, props to Britt for, although I've said this, and feel free to give your guys' opinions, but we've seen her kind of giving her shots at WWE because WWE took out her, them showing her in NXT at TakeOver or whatever. I feel like AEW, I hope AEW in 2022 just kind of like stays in their own lane and doesn't worry so much about, WWE, but I'm not mad at Britt for saying, WWE's just mad because I took away their baby, and she did essentially. So yeah. I ain't mad at you.
Well, all right. So real quick before we do jump into the next segment, because you bring up you're hoping that they do kind of stay in their own lane, and I feel like that's something that needs to be brought up. I guess is I feel like some of the competition that they did have led to some of their best moments throughout the year. So like. Yeah, in a way, like stay in your own lane, do your own thing. You've had success there, but also don't be scared to poke the bear sometimes because they've had success doing it so far.
I agree with that. Like I said, I've enjoyed it. Go ahead.
I agree. I was just going to go back to what you're saying. It's just, you always need competition. It brings out the best in everybody when there's competition. So yeah, to your point, I completely agree. Sometimes you need to.
I like that, but the reason I pose that question is this, though. The reason I say they need to stay more in their own lane is because with AEW still being such a new company, I feel like you need to be, focused on cleaning up and, getting in a row like the things in your show, right? Because AEW still has a lot of stuff, like we mentioned, their women's division was a little bit lighter, which they've already started to work on that by signing some of the people from NWA and things like that as well. But my thing is, when you do things like that, it's perfect. We talked about this, past guest of the show, Eric Bischoff, him and Tony Khan had some words, even though Eric Bischoff was on AEW TV this year, in that Tony Khan is trying to compare himself to WCW in some ways, like with going head to head with WWE, when really at this point they're not really going head to head anymore because he's not on a Monday and he's not on a Friday, which I agree with Eric Bischoff's point in that. But I also agree with your point, Corey, in that I think the competition creates, a better product. But again, I agree with what you're saying, J-Bone, but also realize that when you poke the bear and you take those shots, you also now have opened yourself up to those same criticisms. So I guess one of my things with AEW would be, I just hope in 2022 they continue to try to sure things up, because, okay, I'll give you an example of what I mean. We just saw Cody Rhodes won back the TNT title again. They were not happy about that at all. They were not. They booed him the fuck out of the building. Okay, Cody Rhodes. I like Cody Rhodes. I'm a fan of Cody Rhodes. But if those are some of the same things that you're giving WWE criticisms for and not listening to your fans, well, again, I like Cody, but I'm just calling what I'm seeing. Well, the fans were not fucking with it.
Well, you've actually posed this over a couple of our more wrestling centered shows as of late. But yeah, Cody's had a kind of rough going over the last couple months, and for him to come back to a title now, is it just bad heat? Is it booing as in people are booing, but then they're still gonna watch, or is it booing because people don't want to see it? I
think wrestling fans will always still watch, but I think so. Here would be the best comparison I have when it comes to Cody. And again, all of you guys who are watching, please let us know what you think in the comments. If you have an opinion about anything we're saying, throw them in the comments. But with that being said, I think it's more one of those things. And if you listen to Busted Open, you might have heard a familiar voice this morning. But with that being said, you hear them talk a lot about it on Busted Open. I think Cody does better as a heel personally, especially with when his wife is around him and all those things too. That being said, I also think that Cody is going to be one of those people that I think wrestling fans are going to appreciate him more when he's gone. Like a John Cena, right? Everybody hated John Cena. Everybody hated John Cena for a while, pretty much. It became the thing to do to chant John Cena sucks at shows. Yeah. I think that's kind of the territory that we're starting to get into with Cody. I think it's going to be one of those things where when people, get out of that, fuck Cody thing, I think people are going to appreciate what he's done in how much of a hand he's had with AEW. The fact that him and the Bucks had the balls to go try to do something like this in the first place. I think people are going to appreciate that more after he's gone than maybe people do as we sit. All right. So here we go. We're at match of the year. Since I let both of you guys go first, I'll start this one. This one was tough for me. We're at match of the year. All you guys who are joining in the stream, if you've got a pick for match of the year for 2021, throw it in the comments. Let's see if yours are any different than who I'm about to pick. But for me, I think Hangman versus Danielson is going to be my pick. But we were in the room for quite a banger in Chicago. Lucha Brothers versus Young Bucks in a steel cage for the AEW Tag Team Championship matches. That fucking match was fire. That crowd was losing their shit the whole match. So I guess there's a lot of recency bias. I will pick Hangman Page versus Danielson. You know what? Fuck that. I'm not picking them. We're going to go with Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks because I'm going against the grain. That would be my number 2 pick.
Hey,
but
ruffle the feathers,
Kyle,
man. Ruffle the feathers.
Did you just rip the little plaque, the sticky little plaque thing off the trophy and like write it in Sharpie on there? Like,
I use duct tape, Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Glue, that duct tape works for whatever. I put that duct tape on there, pulled out my black marker, and I wrote Lucha Brothers versus Young Bucks, Steel Cage, AEW All Out, Chicago. I can't wait to go back to Chicago. But, yeah, those are my picks for match of the year. I'm going to go with Lucha Brothers versus Young Bucks, with my honorable mention being Hangman versus Bryan Danielson from Winter is Coming. Hey, everybody joining the stream. Who's your match of the year? Which one of y'all motherfuckers wants to go next?
So basically, I can't pick him for male athlete of the year and then have his biggest match not be match of the year when it was an hour-long title match that ended in a draw. So I feel like mine's kind of already decided. Bryan Danielson versus Hangman. Even, that's to put on something like I had already said going into this, put on something that long that was still entertaining. I mean, ask anybody, you can do just about anything for more than a couple minutes and you'll get tired and be ready to be done with it, so to have an hour-long match and for it to have the success it did, it's hard to argue with.
Look, all I'm going to say is you bastards. You stole my picks, first of all. Second of all, you know what? I'm just going to throw out a few real quick. So you got Lucha Bros versus the Bucks. That was my number 1. You already stole that one. My number 2, Paige versus Danielson.
You guys were bitching about not wanting to go first. Now I go first and you bitch because I picked your pick.
Look,
I mean, hot damn. Do you want to go first or do you want to go last? Do you want to make your pick?
Win, right?
Hot damn.
You can't win no matter what. But hey, think about this one, though. You had Edge versus Rollins, Hell in a Cell. What was that? Crown Jewel? Amazing match, dude. That could have been easily match of the year.
Yeah.
Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan, something you're probably never going to see again. Easily match.
And that's something to talk about with Bryan Danielson as far as him being superstar of the year, too. I mean, he main evented WrestleMania and then main evented AEW in the same year and went for their world championship in the same calendar year. So, I mean,
yeah,
just saying.
But if I got to pick one, Lucha Bros versus the Bucks. The
copycat
dopest match I've seen. Another honorable mention, Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. That was fucking amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing, too. There's just too many. Wrestling's so good. There's too many to pick. How do you pick, man? You just can't.
All right. Well, let's sidebar for a minute before we get to pay-per-view of the year. What was out of the shows you've gotten to go to, Corey, what was show of the year for you?
So, like I have expressed many times on the show, and it'll probably come to a surprise to many of the viewers here, I had an amazing time at All Out. It was a great time. The night was action packed. I mean, both of you guys' match of the year was on this card, and for some reason, I don't know why, I'm just a little scrub rat that loves the tight little small knit events, and that GCW was just it was like it scratched that itch more than that big event did for me myself. I mean, realistically, that big event at AEW.
So which one though? You've been to 2 GCW shows. Was your favorite War Games
Chicago.
Or was your favorite
War Games Chicago? Because even though the Detroit one was action packed and the event itself was nice, to anybody that's been out there, the venue's not the greatest. I don't want to shit on what they're doing out here, but
well, I mean, it's an indie show. I mean,
but
it's an indie show, dude. That's
if your walls are looking like mine in my bedroom, it's time to update, dude. Time to update.
I mean, I would say they did because they're doing the next show at Harpo's, and then they're doing one at, and they're doing one at. They already sold out the Hammerstein Ballroom in January.
Rapidly growing.
That's the type of thing that I didn't get to finish it because I got sidetracked with the whole, but that was leading into what I was saying is they're working in that direction, especially with, like you said, what they have done in other states. And now that they're coming back here, they're even upping, the venue here. So I'm very excited to see the continued progression of them. And I feel like both events really left an impression just as much as the AEW event that I went to. And for the amount of money and production and everything that goes into the two, to compare them at that level, and I still side that way.
All right, J-Bone, what was the pay-per-view of the year?
All right, well, I didn't get to go to any freaking pay-per-view, so.
Well, all right, take it back. What was your favorite show you've been to, and then what was your pay-per-view of the year?
I've only been what I've been to this year. I went to Raw last night. You know what? I'm just going to cut it there. Raw was my favorite last night because that was dope. First-time experience from a nephew. Don't get no better than that. But as far as pay-per-view of the year, man, I think it have to be All Out. It has to be. I mean, how do you go against that? That was one of the greatest cards that I've seen. It even isn't that the one that had MJF versus Chris Jericho on there?
No. MJF versus Darby Allin. Or no. MJF. Punk, CM Punk and Darby faced each other, and then MJF faced. It was Jericho.
Jericho,
right? It was Jericho. I'm getting my matches mixed up. Damn it!
Yeah, because Jericho came out to the live lead, and let me preference not to interrupt real quick, but I feel like if we're including both picks and like what was my event of the year and what was the pay-per-view of the year, that was the pay-per-view of the year was All Out. The live event that I went to, I just want to clarify.
I got you.
That, But
all right, so I have a little bit more of a selection than you guys because son of a bitch,
everywhere.
I worked 3 shows in Texas on Fight TV. I was at AEW Revolution. I was at AEW All Out. I was at WWE Summerslam. I was at WWE Monday Night Raw in this bitch. We were at I was at 2 or 3 GCW shows this year. I went to a lot of shit this year. As far as my favorite show of the year, my favorite show that I got to be in the building for has to be, it's the same as my pay-per-view of the year. All Out was one of the best shows I've ever got to be in the building for, period. From start to finish, from the crowd to the matches to getting to link up with Ryan McKinnell from Busted Open, Sirius XM, MMA Today, all that shit. Which, if you didn't get to see it, make sure you hit that motherfucking subscribe button and go check it out after you're done, because you might learn a thing or two. That being said, All Out wins my show of the year. It also is my favorite show I went to. That being said, to give an honorable mention of that one. Now, I can't say it was my favorite show of the year, but SummerSlam and that Vegas trip with the homie Megaran was by far the trip of the year, because we got down to Nashville. My sister got married. I got a little drunk, but my sister got married, and then I got on a plane, and then I lost my shit in the hotel room when CM Punk came back, and then I got on a plane and flew to Vegas, and Megaran tried to pump me full of margaritas, and then we went and saw SummerSlam and all that, but all the people that we were linking up with that day, from Sabu to Alley Catch to Joey Janela, Willie Mack, Medusa, Omos from Monday Night Raw last night. Can I just say that Omos is fucking huge? Like, fucking huge, not just huge, he's fucking huge. Like, that guy is, like, really big. Just in case you didn't know that or couldn't tell off the TV, they don't got him standing on clown shoes. Just
what's
so
his height? Is it 7?
Dude, like 7'4", 400 pounds.
7'4". Holy shit!
Legit wouldn't fit in my dining room.
As a taller man myself,
I don't think you would.
At 6'3", and working with my tall ass fucking little brother.
Little big brother, we got a t-shirt coming to you next week. If you guys ordered those Knockouts at 3 Count shirt, we appreciate you. Shout out to Face Kicked Apparel. We'll have them boys out soon. If you need one, let me know in the comments. I got shirts. What you want? What you need? Hit me up. I got you, man. Now make your pick.
Well, to get back to what I was talking about big ass brother, his ass is 6'8", and if you're talking adding another 6-inch tall person, that's
And he's not fat
God
either. Let's
damn.
preface this with he might be that tall, but he's also not a fat guy either.
Yeah, it's very surprising that somebody of that athletic build isn't doing NBA. Somewhere he's not getting paid some million somewhere to play basketball somewhere.
Right.
Just the size alone, you could play center all day with the athletic ability, man. It's crazy. But
Couldn't fit in my dining room though.
Yeah, so do you think J-Bone we're gonna see him get a WWE championship before he's done?
No. But I think he's gonna
No?
get a hell of a push though. He's gonna get real.
Well, I think that's what they're gearing up for, breaking him up with AJ. We'll have to see how he does it day one. We will make our picks for day one. What do you think, J-Bone? What do you think? We finish off Thursday's show with picks for day one?
I'm with it, man.
We can do that. All right. Well, now we're to the part of the show where things start to get subjective. Now, my list is not in any particular number order. These are just my favorite top 5 of the year. But since I went first last time, which one of y'all motherfuckers wants to tell us about your top 5 moments of 2021 first?
Ooh, moments 5. Oh, this one I tried not to write down because I want to just. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
No, lead the way.
Again, we want to know, what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think, are we on the right path with our picks for 2021? I want to know in the comments. Damn it. Somebody let me know who you're picking. J-Bone, Who are you picking? Top 5 moments, 2021.
Top 5 moments of the year. So I'm going to go off the handle here. Just shoot from the hip. Number one's got to be the return of CM Punk. That was amazing with the crowd and just everything that went down with that. Absolutely amazing. In no particular order, I like the CM Punk, Sting, and Darby Allin face paint thing last week.
That was so fucking dope.
So dope.
And the fact that CM Punk had like the old school Highlander Sting paint on was the shit. I'm just saying. It was dope.
Another good one for me, the return of John Cena, believe it or not. Anybody who knows me personally, I'm not the biggest John Cena fan. It just, whatever. But when he returned, it was huge. Was it Money in the Bank? He came back, dude. That created that big fight feel. That was an awesome moment. Number 4 for me was when the crowd returned for not WrestleMania, but for, what was it, Double or Nothing at Daly's place. Awesome. That crowd was awesome, amazing for that pay-per-view, and it was mainly because of the comeback. It was the first pay-per-view they had with the crowd. It was like 5,000 people. Awesome. Number 5 for me, I think would have to be the Lucha Bros versus the Bucks match. That was probably one of the coolest matches I've seen, dude. That whole match, that was what they call a wrestling moment that's going to stand out for a long time, man. That was dope. So that's my 5.
All right, Corey, top 5. Who is it? Doesn't matter order, but what are your top 5 moments? They can be either shows you went to, they can be shit that happened, whatever you want.
Not to steal J-Bone's funk here, but that was actually what I was going to lead my dance with is all these debuts, man. I mean, AEW had some stellar debuts. I mean, CM Punk's number 1. It's got to be, right? But the fact that they led that up immediately in the same night with such a surprise factor for somebody that being there in attendance, like it really was. The way that they put so much into CM Punk making his entrance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
For them to still then pile on Bryan Danielson, that's my 1 and 2, and you can pick it in whatever order you want, but that's definitely my 1 and 2 right there. And number 3, because if you're saying I can include my live festivities and things,
this is your list, completely subjective.
Ruffle some feathers, man.
No, just that trip to Chicago in general. It was eye-opening look into the wrestling world for sure, being that, like I say, I had great time at the GCW. I got to kind of really get my feet wet in a rising stock indie show. You know what I mean? It wasn't like somebody's show that we're friends with or so, you know, it was like, no, this is like one of the best, you know, up and coming indie shows in the area. That like the whole trip to Chicago, that'll be my number 3 for sure. If we're going 4, it was really the impact that the whole Roman Reigns and Brock thing had on the wrestling world throughout the last year. That's got to be in my top 5 somewhere, with just the amount of impact it had across the board. And then one thing I feel as though I'm going to put for my top 5, and I guess I could kind of put the capstone of when he lost the AEW belt, but Kenny Omega hasn't been brought up on anybody's list, and he did a great job throughout this year. Even though I kind of had my own critiques of him, he was carrying belts across multiple organizations for, you know.
And we're not talking
time.
about like a million different indie promotions. He had 4 major titles at one time.
Yeah. Yep. So to put that one on there, and then I guess an honorable mention too would be that Moxley Cage match. That was pretty crazy in Chicago. That really was. That was a wild.
You mean the Lucha Brothers cage match?
No, the
Moxley
Brian
Cage.
Cage.
Oh, okay. So when he
Moxley
you're
Cage.
talking about when he showed up at GCW.
At GCW, yeah.
Okay.
It was rather shocking to everybody in attendance, though. I feel as though that needs to be included on my list.
All right, so I guess that means
there's so much to forget about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the thing. Whenever you do like a top 5 or your favorite moments of 2021, you know, whether it's wrestling, MMA, whatever. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of recency biased, you know, towards the end of the year. So CM Punk and his return in Chicago. I honestly didn't know if we'd ever see it. The fact that they were not only able to make it happen, but for him to come back and be received the way he has been and be able to just pick up the way. Like I said, man, I told you before CM Punk came out, I said, you're about to hear one of the loudest pops you're going to hear in a building in recent time. Now, Stone Cold obviously could rival that, but I mean, for recent times and all that stuff, CM Punk coming to AEW was insane. All right, next one for me was Edge's return at the Royal Rumble. Like I say, man, Edge returned at the Royal Rumble the year before, but I guess what I'm saying is like Edge's run through this year. Between the stuff that he did with Seth Rollins to him and Roman Reigns and all of that stuff, Edge's run this year has been something else to me. Cardona in GCW. That is one of the most rowdy fucking crowds that I have seen in the last 10 to 15 years, bar none. They were pelting this man with everything that wasn't nailed down. Dude, like, you want to talk about heat.
Not to interrupt real quick, but yet again, I want to ask that question kind of like we were asking earlier. Was that good heat? Because that felt like bad heat. That felt like people were.
That was like somebody get him out of the building safely.
Like somebody was like the greater majority was sick of the character, is what it seemed like.
Well, you got to realize they see Cardona as a WWE guy. Yeah. They see him as Zack Ryder, even if he's not Zack Ryder anymore. That's what he's seen as. It's a WWE guy coming into their playground, pretty much. It's the closest thing that I could compare a GCW crowd to would be an ECW crowd, and ECW would give you your credit where it was deserved, but you had to kind of like work your way over with them. And Cardona not only coming there but winning the GCW title from Nick Gage on their turf in Atlantic City, man, that shit was gnarly. I would say my next one would have to be Bryan Danielson coming to AEW. I had heard a lot of him coming to AEW, but I didn't really expect it. So that one for me was a huge one because Brian Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him, dude, he was a star in WWE. They didn't want him to be a star, and he got over and did everything you can in WWE. Like, you want to talk about biggest underdogs in WWE history? I mean, Daniel Bryan or Brian Danielson has to be considered in that. And then it even talks about how good Brian Danielson is, that the fact that he's over there in AEW and now just switches to a heel and he's got them all booing him.
He's that good.
That's the mark of a good performer.
Yep.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Corey. I mean, you're not, Mr. Wrestler guy, but I don't see anybody questioning whether what Brian Danielson does in the ring is fake.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm just saying, when the guy's kicking motherfuckers' teeth out of their mouth.
Yeah. He there's a reason why he's garnered the fan attention that he has, man. He definitely goes all out in there. He really lives up to the expectation that's been built of him from hearing about him from an outsider's perspective for so long. He really does live up to it.
Yeah, man. Like I said, you can't go against that. And I guess you know what? I will go with so with the one with Edge, I feel like Christian has to be attached to that as well. Because the runs that those guys had, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Christian in one of our other categories here in a minute. But that one would have to go with it. And I guess the last one that I'll pick will be, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take Edge's run out, and I will put Christian returning and winning the Impact World title from Kenny Omega. I didn't see that happening. And the last one for me, we were in the building for this bitch too, but the fact that they went back to back with Adam Cole and Brian Danielson like that crowd, even though we had all like been through like an emotional roller coaster, that was insane. So for me, that's my top 5. I've got CM Punk's return, Christian Cage winning the Impact World Championship, Cardona and GCW, Danielson to AEW, and Adam Cole, baby, to AEW. Like I said, all right, but that bleeds into our next topic, and since I was already flapping my gums about it, we are on to comeback of the year in pro wrestling. Who do you guys think had the comeback of the year in pro wrestling? I will make my pick first. Christian had comeback of the year in pro wrestling. I don't even think it's arguable. Like, no disrespect to Edge. Edge has been on a hell of a run. But Christian came back at the Royal Rumble, same one as Edge did. Comes back. Him and Edge are in the match. Goes to AEW. Wins the Impact Championship again. Is wrestling simultaneously between Impact and AEW. And for him to be another guy like Edge who comes back and was never supposed to wrestle again, and not only comes back but wins the Impact World Championship, has a banger set of matches with Kenny Omega. Dude, I feel like as far as a comeback of the year, yes, you could throw Sting in there. Yes, you could say CM Punk, but CM Punk's isn't really a comeback to me, right? Like it is a comeback, but being the fact that CM Punk left on his own accord versus the fact that Christian was medically told, no, you can't wrestle anymore. The fact that he not only came back, but won an Impact World Championship after that. Christian Cage is my comeback of the year. Again, let me know who you guys got in the comments. Christian Cage is my pick for comeback of the year. Whoever wants next, the floor is yours.
So now you got me kind of feeling bad because I was going in the direction of CM Punk, but I feel as though you're kind of right with like that. That is a.
That's why they pay me the big bucks. My check just hasn't got here yet.
It's coming as fast as beer.
We're still waiting for that one to clear. No, in all seriousness, though, that is a very valid point. Somebody that takes themselves out of the game in their prime
didn't have a choice. He didn't take himself out. He was just like Edge.
I'm regarding to CM Punk in this, where he did take himself out in the prime just because he was kind of, getting burned out and grinded out of it. Where, like you say, medical clearance, that's a whole nother thing. And to have the run that he's had arguably just as impressive matches in AEW as CM Punk. He might not have garnered quite as much fanfare.
And he went and did his thing in Impact too. Like CM Punk has only been in AEW in one calendar year. Christian was in WWE, AEW, Impact, all in 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, I feel as though that would be. I was also leaning when I was originally thinking of this, and I feel as though the whole thing that came out with him needing to get his help and stuff. But one of my original thoughts too was also Moxley. I feel as though he had a great year too, and to jump promotions and have the rise that he had,
and his book.
His book was kick ass.
So I feel like that was another consideration, but I feel as though that all of those aren't as ballsy as coming back from a how many year layoff after a medical clearance. I mean, it was like,
what was it, 2000? Was it 2009 or 2010?
It was 2010.
So
11 years.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, it's hard to argue with, man. I'm glad you actually put that in the air before I officially announced my pick, because that definitely made me rethink mine. I'm gonna have to lean that direction as well.
So we got 2 picks for Christian. Who is your comeback of the year, J-Bone? And again, anybody who's watching, if you've got a pick for comeback of the year and think I'm full of shit, just bring it.
Hey, I'm only going to pick this guy because you guys already picked the other guy. So actually, that's a lie. I'm picking because he's like my childhood idol. I used to walk around my house dressed up as Sting. So I'm picking Sting, dude.
It's Sting!
The way he came back was it December of last year, and then throughout the whole year, man, he's put, for his age, he has put on some great stuff, man, with Darby all year long.
And kudos to AEW for not overdoing it with his shit either.
Just right. And a guy like that, a legend in professional wrestling, man, he deserves every type of hi-hat he can get on his way out, whenever that is. And he can stay as long as he wants to. He keeps putting on shows like he's doing right now. At his age, stay as long as you want, man. I'm with it, but that's my pick.
And what's most crazy about that one too is like when he had initially made his debut, don't get me wrong, for somebody of his age and just even going out there took a lot of balls, but he looked in decent shape. He looks like he's genuinely improved his shape. Like he must be having fun doing this again.
Yeah,
because he seems to be trying to improve his physique, improve his ability to perform.
Yeah. And he's another guy that got hurt on the way out of WWE. Just didn't have the proper run. He got hurt.
Broke his neck in his match with
Seth Rollins. And, as a legend in the game, man, you don't want to see guys go out that way. So for him to get to come back, get to shine like he is in the role that he has in AEW, I think it's fucking great. You ask me.
I'm with that. And I mean, let's be honest. He should have beat Triple H at WrestleMania, but I said that in 2015 that he should have won.
And that one still hurts.
Another thing that's still funny is like, if you would you have even considered that would have been one of your options for comeback of the year if you were trying to predict the future last year?
Oh no,
would that even have like crossed your mind that he would have performed that as well as he has, that he ended up on your comeback of the I feel like that's pretty high praises for somebody of his stature.
Oh, definitely. And the fact that he's single-handedly helping Darby Allin out too. Like, I mean, don't be naive and think that Darby Allin's star is not only rising by being associated with Sting. Think of the knowledge that kid is getting.
Oh yeah.
Darby must be like wrestling golden child, because it seems like a lot of these higher tier celebrity athletes and stuff that AEW has been able to get their hands on, every single one of them's loved working with them. Like CM Punk wanted to make that his first match just so that he would get the exposure and stuff. Like, it seems like a lot of people must really like the guy in the
well, they consider him, they've said it in promos even at this point. I mean, hell, even MJF said it himself, Darby Allin is one of the 4 pillars of AEW that's going to be, one of their stalwarts, in the years to come. All right. Next topic on the ballot is debut of the year. And to me, if we're going debut of the year, this one's kind of a no-brainer to me. But My pick for debut of the year is going to be Braun Breaker from WWE NXT. I mean, that kid's got money written all over him. You can see his dad, the dog-faced gremlin, Michigan's own Rick motherfucking Steiner, his pops. You can see it in the singlet, and he's done really well with the spots that they've put him in. And clearly they're strapping a rocket to his ass. I think he's going to be the one that takes the NXT title off of Tommaso Ciampa, and I don't think it's long before we see Braun Breaker on the main event on the main roster. So for me, debut of the year goes to Braun Breaker. Whoever
Agreed.
wants next, y'all motherfuckers got next.
Agreed.
That's not fair. You got to at least give your own reason.
No, hey, you said it best, man. The dude he's the prototype WWE superstar. He's everything you want in a superstar and a future superstar. He's young. He's got the nostalgia of the Steiners, that bloodline, man. That dude, if they use him correctly, and I really hope they don't drop the ball on this one, that dude is going to be the next megastar in WWE. He's got everything from the looks to the talent. Like you said, strap the rocket to his back, send him to the moon, because that dude is taking your company to the next level. He's definitely going to be the breakout star in 2022.
All right. Who is it, Corey?
All right. You said ruffle some feathers earlier, right? So here's my ruffle some
Fuck them
feathers
feathers.
moment.
Fuck them feathers.
Fuck them feathers.
American Top Team is my debut of the year. They've showed up at I can't even count how many events now they've done in a great
Hell, he was
job.
just on AEW on Saturday.
Yeah, they've done a great job throughout. Dan Lambert has been a great figurehead for them, and they keep bringing like a revolving door of like the same athletes, but then they'll mix a couple new ones in there to keep it fresh. And they've got such a large gym pool with like high tier athletes. They can bring like the likes of Jorge Masvidal in on events. They can bring JDS on events. They can bring Arlas. They're mixing it up enough to keep it fresh. And all their appearances from everything that I've seen online have been entertaining as shit and funny.
Yeah.
So I that would be my debut of the year. I would like to see what they continue to do with them throughout the next year. All
right, I like it. Something different, too. Something out of the box.
Ruffle them feathers, man.
Did he ruffle your feathers with that pick, ATT? Let him know in the comments. Tell him you ain't scared. Like I said.
The MMA guys got to lead with the MMA team.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I like that.
All right. So the next one I've got on the list is Tag Team of the Year. Who wants Tag Team of the Year first?
I'll take this one.
All right.
For me, tag team, it's a different thing for me, man, because like I grew up on tag team wrestling. So when I see a tag team, not only you got to have the look and the talent, you got to be able to elevate the prestige of the championships. And tag team wrestling has suffered over the past years. But a tag team of the year, the Young Bucks, had this long reign, and I do think they made the AEW tag team titles the most prestigious tag team titles in wrestling right now. It's hard second for me with RK Bro. I love the comedic talent over there with that. I love it. But when it comes to professional wrestling as a whole, the Young Bucks lead the way, the best tag team of the year.
Yes, we've already got one different pick. Corey, who is your tag team of the year?
Yet again, being the MMA guy, I gotta lead with my guy. The RKO thing has been hilarious. It really has. They've done a great job, and they held the belts for a while.
Still got the belts.
So it's they've had an entertaining run throughout the last year. It's very hard to argue with your pick, but I just don't want to feel like I'm riding everybody's coattails on that one. And I feel like
mix it up.
The whole super serious like athlete role has been funny from everything I've seen of it. So that would be my standout of the year.
I mean, they were loving RK Bro in Detroit last night.
Yes, they were.
Bro.
Yes,
and Matt Riddle is like the shaman for MSK, who Trey Miguel, happens to be a past guest of the show, and so does Nash Carter, in case you didn't know that. But with that being said, my pick for Tag Team of the Year, and I'm even going to use the exact criteria that J-Bone used, FTR is my Tag Team of the Year. They went and won the tag titles over in Mexico for AAA. They had the AEW tag titles. You know, they pulled a page out of Kurt Angle's book looking like El Conquistador for a minute. I mean, they kind of hold on Trent's mom real quick, but I mean, we can let that slide. You know, then they show up at Ring of Honor to fight with the Briscoes. I mean, dude. And then you throw in Tully Blanchard, who, when you think of the Brain Busters, which were him and Arn Anderson, are arguably one of the best tag teams of all time, in their corner, giving them knowledge to. For me, it's got to be FTR for me.
I love that, dude. I love that. I love their old school, like Brainbuster type feel.
And the fact that they got the Midnight Express like music to like honor Beautiful Bobby now that he died, like that's dope too. I love the robes. I like all of it. I fuck with FTR. FTR, if you hear this, fuck the rest. Well, fuck them and come fuck with your boys on Knockouts and 3 Counts. Anyway, that brings me to my Breakout Superstar of the Year, which is basically going to be the same thing for me as my debut of the year. I think Braun Breaker is going to be the breakout star of 2022. I think they're already kind of strapping the rocket to his ass, and I think 2022 is not going to be any different. So, who is your breakout star of the year, J-Bone?
Now, mine, it's a tough 1 and 2 for me, man. But a very close second, I'm gonna say Sammy Guevara. But number 1 is gonna be MJF, and
that's a cheap pick. He already broke out. That's a cheap pick.
Right, but wait till you see what he does next. After he beats CM Punk, this dude is going to take his star to the next level. He's going to be
he cheated.
Better.
You can't already pick somebody established for the breakout star. Come on.
I don't think he's even established yet.
What are you talking about?
Just scratching the surface with MJF, man.
All right.
I'm not saying they're not just scratching the surface, but he's already well established, as I would say. And go ahead, quote me. Best heel in wrestling right now, MJF.
Maybe
2022 is going to be the year of MJF. You watch.
Maybe I misunderstood the assignment here, but I thought breakout star meant somebody who I feel as though was on. It was at any stage. I didn't think it was like the up and comer award of the year, because my pick in this one was Big E. I thought he did such an amazing
job. There's nothing wrong with that, though, because
he's got some room.
Here's why that's not a bad pick, though.
Those promos.
Breakout star can mean.
Hold on. Let me make my damn announcement. That promo that he did at that Wilder Fury thing stuck with me hard, and that's the reason why I ended up picking him at this point, is because I feel as though, even though WWE's kind of maybe went a little, it hasn't continued on the upward trajectory that I figured it should.
I mean, he's still a champ.
But I feel as though next year, if done right, he can absolutely take that rocket and continue to do things all across the wide world of entertainment. And that's where I've seen him, a great example of what that promo he is able to cut in that Wilder Fury fight. So.
See there? Now that's not a bad pick, and here's why that also works. Because, Big E is a established star, but Big E is just now really getting his first real run as a single. So, I mean, he could break out heavy as a single. I mean, he's got the title, so that's not a bad pick at all. All right. Now we get to the crown jewel, the one that's going to be a pain in the dick. Your top 5 matches of 2021 are in this motherfucker. So, top 5. Are we going to do a rock, paper, scissors? Who goes first on this one?
You go first. We're doing the carousel. We already went first last time.
I went first on the last one.
Did you go first? I thought I went
first. Yes, I did. I went first on Breakout Star 2022.
Corey's first then.
All right. You guys want me to lead the dance? I got this. Look at this. All right. So, that being said, a little bit of cheap picks for the first couple, because being that this was my first couple events in the last forever and a half that I've been involved, in the wrestling world. Both the GCW things I'm just going to include in my one. Number 2 is the whole AEW event. If you're mad about my picks for matches because I'm choosing whole events, fuck off. That was my first couple of events.
Hello,
but
fucking feathers.
That being said, if we're gonna isolate actual matches themselves, yet again, the Hangman versus Bryan Danielson hour-long match. I keep harping on it, but that one's hard to argue with there. Punk's debut, because I was there in person, was wild. I know I included that in the whole AEW thing, but I feel as though that needs to stand out on its own. The crowd was literally going fucking insane in Chicago. Yeah. It really was like a whole fiasco just for that one match. Even though there may have been brighter performances, it was the impact that had on the wrestling world, seeing him come back, is why I included that one more so on my list. And then, like, for my 5 to top it off, I feel as though this is where it got kind of hairy for me, because I mostly, of course, I'm picking from what I got to see my eyes on, but really, to pull back to the beginning of the year, and Kyle, you kind of already alluded to this, that Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair fight at the beginning of the year, that was my standout of the whole WrestleMania event. From everything that happened on all the nights, that was the standout for me myself. So for me not to include that somewhere in my top 5, I feel like would be it wouldn't be true. It would be, like you say, Kyle, like a recency bias.
All right. Well, Corey made his picks. So who's going next? You or me?
You want to flip a coin?
Rock, paper, scissors.
You know what? I'll go first. It's your show.
He didn't want the smoke and rock, paper, scissors. I'm the motherfucking champ.
I'm like 1-40 in rock, paper, scissors. So.
You got to take Ariel.
Champ!
Ariel is the uncrowned queen in this house.
I want the smoke.
She wins it all.
Champ!
All right. So, no particular order. I'll give you my number 1 because I already gave you my number 1. Was Lucha Bros versus the Bucks. Amazing match. Definitely match of the year for me. Banks versus Belair at WrestleMania. Reigns versus Danielson versus Edge at WrestleMania. Amazing. Rollins versus Edge at Crown Jewel. Was that 4? Is that 3 or 4? That's 4. And then Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker on Dynamite. Takes it for me, man.
Oh,
Do you notice I didn't put in the one everybody thought I was going to put in was the 60-minute match.
Son of a bitch, dude. You know what?
It's hard. It's so hard not to include, because when you think about it, realistically, they had 4 matches worth of fucking time in that one match, so and then it was still good. So it's like, realistically, you could say that they went. Like
that could be 4 out of your top 5 matches.
Like it was commercial break between 2 and 3. That was my favorite match.
Yes.
See, you bastards are now making it hard for me to make my picks. Yeah. We actually got one more topic we got to talk about after this. I skipped it because of the way I put it on there. You've got the feud of the. We still have the feud of the year and the. If I had the pencil prediction for 2022, I came up with the name and can't even spit it out. Good thing I can remember knockouts and 3 counts, huh? I had the pencil. Oh shit. All right, my top 5 matches of the year. Sasha versus Bianca at WrestleMania is on my list. That was a killer match, and the fact that they were able to close out WrestleMania, becoming only the second match to be main event for the females at WrestleMania, good match for them. Hangman versus Danielson's got to be on there for me, plainly for the fact that not only did they go an hour, but to go an hour on TV in 2021 and to keep people that invested through the whole thing, I think says a lot about that. Lucha Bros, Mexicans, the Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks in the steel cage in Chicago. Like I said, one of the best matches I've seen in person all year. I couldn't not put that on my list. Now, here's where things get fucked up, because you threw out a few of them that made me second guess my pick. But since this didn't get put on anyone else's pick, and I was there again, ding, 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 ring the bell. Edge versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam.
Love it.
Has to go on my top 5 because, dude, like, SummerSlam was kind of, some of it was good, some of it was That wasn't That match was really good. Clear from the Edge entrance with the Brood entrance. Get the bounce going. Like I said, just need my shirt, and we need Gangrel in this motherfucker. We had a bloodbath in Detroit. I don't know why it was black. It looked like Venom dropped his blood on him, but we had a bloodbath in Detroit last night. Yeah. So those are my top 5 matches for the year 2021.
PG
All right.
blood.
I think that we should end the show on the If I Had the Pencil. Jesus Christ, I came up with a name and I can't even spit it out. If I Had the Pencil 2022 prediction, that's going to be what ends the show. Yeah, that's going to be what ends the show. Don't give me the pencil because I might see a pencil. But with that being said, feud of the year. For me, this is a no-brainer. But I want to know, before I make my picks, so Corey can't steal my pick, who are your guys' picks for feud of the year?
Well, since you keep saying that I'm stealing picks, I'll lead the dance again on this one. Even though you love to steal my picks. Actually,
yeah, boy.
If you review the list, I think I went first more.
I'd have to see if I have any eraser left on my pencil.
That being said, you must have had some backyard news at my potential that I was using earlier. Now, that being said, though, it's got to be Brock versus Roman, right? With everything that happened in the whole play out of it, Paul Heyman and everything that's went into it. It seemed to be the biggest highlight of WWE throughout the year, and it's hard to argue, especially because of it being a feud. What's the best feud of the year? The one that led the dance. So it's got to be that.
All right. Well, you stole my shit anyway. But J-Bone, what's your pick?
No, when you say it first, that means you took it from me, my friend.
He stole all of our picks, man. I think that one leads the way, man. Long-term storytelling, I love that. I've always talked about that. But let me just throw out an honorable mention, though. This is one of my favorites. Now, this is just my favorite, okay? I'm not saying this is the top shit. For J-Bone personally, one of my favorites, and honestly, it kept me involved in the GCW thing, was Effie versus Matt Cardona. That was so much fun to watch on Twitter, them going back and forth. That was huge. And then just because I'm a kiss-ass Dave LaGreca and Thunder Rosa.
Hey, Dave, I called in and talked to you on your show on Busted Open this morning. I want you to come back and talk to us on our show. Y'all that are watching this, feel free to tweet him at David LaGreca1 and let him know that you want to see him back on Knockouts and 3 Counts. Dave, you said you love doing other podcasts. Well, like I said, the door is open. It looks like we're all picking the same one, but I think it's kind of hard not to pick that one. Roman versus Brock has been great. The way they've gone up and down with it, the use of Paul Heyman. And for anybody that wants to talk shit about Paul Heyman, if you can't recognize the greatness of Paul Heyman after all this, I don't understand what you're watching. Like, how much of that story was told just in, like, the mannerisms of Paul Heyman and him being scared of going against Brock Lesnar because of their history, but still being with the dude.
I think we're far from over, too. I think we're far from over.
Oh, dude, now you just got to the second half. We got to the hill, and you just went to go down the hill because, dude, now you got Brock and Paul back together, and you got the fully healed Roman essentially at this point. I mean, bro, you got fireworks coming, and we still got another 4 months till WrestleMania.
Yep.
I mean, bro, I wouldn't be shocked if Roman and Brock have something to do with one of your main events on one of those nights at WrestleMania. So, I mean, I still think, like you said, we're far from over on where we end up with that one. So, again, If you guys watch this in post, it's probably going to be clipped up into a separate video. What do you think is the feud of 2021? And without any further ado, let me slow it down a little bit just so that I can make sure that I can speak. It is the If I Had the Pencil prediction for 2022, and I can spit it out, but I'm not putting my pencil down first. So, J-Bone, since you want to laugh so hard, if you had the pencil, what happens in 2022?
And this is just pure fantasy booking, right? This is going to be whatever I want, right?
Yes.
That's the rule here? Okay.
That you can see happening in 2022.
Does it have to be in the realm of reality, or can it be just something I'd love to see?
Yes, it's got to have a chance of happening, asshole.
No,
That's kind of the point.
I want both. I want to hear the fantasy.
Well, and this is just because I'd like to see it in previous years, but it's not going to happen now. Well, it could happen. Well, you never know. I would like to see an NXT star debut and win the Royal Rumble. I guess it could, if they really wanted to write that in, they could do it with Braun Breaker. They could, because like you said, he's the prototype to do it. Now, is that in the realm of reality? Maybe not. With NXT Black and Gold, potentially you could have did that. But realm of reality, I want to see Tommaso Ciampa somehow bring the feud with Gargano back. Remember the feud they had in NXT, how great it was? I somehow want to see that on cable television, if we can. I don't know if we can.
I mean, that all, I guess, depends on where old Johnny Wrestling ends up. I mean, as of right now, it looks like he's done with WWE. I mean, he's got his Pro Wrestling T stores back up. We haven't seen him debut anywhere, but hot damn, if they both somehow ended up in AEW down the road. I mean, I was at two of those matches, both the one in Orlando and one of the ones in Chicago. Like I said, two of the best matches I've ever been in the building for live. Like I said, I have no problem with that pick at all. But if I had the motherfucking pencil, I think we see the Hardy Boys in AEW versus the Young Bucks.
I love it.
I hope that's the case because
I
of
hope
what's
we
going
see
on
that.
with the whole situation. I hope that's the case.
Being that I was there when they returned at WrestleMania 33 in Orlando, ring the bell. I could totally see that in AEW, and especially now that it's being come out and said by both Matt and other people that Jeff wasn't fucked up as it was reported. Yeah. I hope so, because the Hardy Boys are one of the best. Shit, JR just said it the other day, and it's really kind of hard to argue. I mean, he said that the Hardy Boys are the best homegrown tag team that WWE's ever come out with.
That they were by far, like, bar none, the ones that I enjoyed watching the most when I was a fan of wrestling when I was
maybe
a kid.
The most influential tag team of all time.
Yeah, that, like, still to this day, if like you would ask me what's my favorite childhood wrestler or something, it's the Hardy Brothers. What they did, back then, it was for me as a developing kid, it was so fun to watch them fucking go out there and they would destroy shit against guys that looked to be twice their size. And
they would destroy their own bodies for your entertainment.
Yeah.
And they would do it with so much more high flying techniques and stuff than you would see most of the other guys, especially tag teams, in there doing. Like, you'd see a lot of that when I was growing up, at least with the singles and stuff. But when it came to the tag teams, it was like the Dudley style, where it was like two bigs that just ran people over more often than not, or you'd get the one and the two. But with them, it was both flyers, man, every time something was going down. So yeah, they were definitely influential. And if that's the case, I hope that was kind of false reporting, I guess you could say.
Let's hope.
All right, Corey. So what is your If I Had the Pencil prediction for 2022? If we're giving you the pencil, what is getting put on the docket?
So yet again, I think I misunderstood the assignment, because mine was more of like I feel as though mine was more of like predictions in the upcoming year, where your guys' seems to be more like, if I was one of the story writers for a promotion, what would I do? Which makes more sense with the pencil behind the scenes.
Hey, twist it your way. Fuck it.
But that being said, my initial thoughts was AEW is going to be a continual force in the wrestling world. If anything, they're going to garner a deeper fan base. I feel as though throughout the next year, that's one thing that I feel is kind of not necessarily a certain, right? There's always missteps, especially somebody or a company that young in their career, or however you want to word that. They can always take a misstep and go the wrong way. But
we appreciate you dropping in the comments. 2022 predictions. We were reading off your picks at the beginning of the show.
Pop for sure.
So with you coming in the comments, you came in right at the end. Perfect timing. Sophia, our friend from Canada. That being said, if you had the pencil in 2022, what are you booking? I want to know. Let me know in the comments. We just said if I had the pencil, I said I am booking Jeff and Matt Hardy are going to team up again in AEW. Corey is in the process of making his pick here.
No, yeah. So to spin it back to bring it in the direction that you guys had your pick kind of oriented, I think we're going to see a directional heel turn from MJF. I think he's going to go the opposite direction. I think.
You think he's turning babyface?
Sometime throughout the year, I think he's going to. Not full, but I think he's going to go that direction.
You think like
throughout the next year.
Stone Cold Steve Austin type babyface?
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying he's going to all of a sudden go. They're going to find somebody else that they're going to build up as a heel as well, and they're going to put them in a match with him. And I feel as though he's going to be the one that tries to be the good guy against somebody else who may be like a villain character of sorts. I feel like that could be something we see in the next year. And it would turn his whole direction that he's been going on its head, even if it was just for a short stint, like a 2-3 month thing where he just made like 5 appearances and it was a whole different direction. And then he built up some alliance with somebody just to turn around and shit on it after 2-3 months. Like, I feel like there's a lot of interesting directions with what they've been doing with how heel directive he has been throughout the majority of his career. I feel like the turn has to be inevitable at some point. I guess he doesn't have to, but that seems to be the world of wrestling, especially as the ebbs and flows. And I feel like what year is better than the next?
Right.
And I feel as though going into it.
Sophia coming in with the heat in the motherfucking comments. I like what you're talking about. And like I said, feel free to talk shit about our picks because I ain't scared. Corey's got long hair and might get a little bit offended, but it's okay. It's okay.
I got thick skin. It takes a lot to offend this.
All right. Well, Sophia has given us her. If she had the pencil, CM Punk and Bryan Danielson will team up to work against the Young Bucks. I think that would be awesome.
Love it.
I'm with you. That shit is fire. Give Sophia the motherfucking pencil all the way in Canada because I want to see that shit. I also want to see Bryan Danielson versus CM Punk in a actual fucking feud, not just a one and done. I want to see them go at it for a little bit on a major stage because all the stuff that they got to do in Ring of Honor. Shout out to the homie, Shane T. Shane Taylor Promotions. I know you were checking us out a little bit earlier. I appreciate you, big homie. And Janai Kai. Like I said, I still got room on my squad for number 3. All right? Whenever you'd have a change of heart about Warzone, the spot to be my 3rd in that Dawn of the Dead spot. You know, you said, or Dead at Daylight. Was that what
Dead
it was?
by Daylight.
Yes, Dead by Daylight. You said that we could play it together. I'm down. I'm with it. I ain't scared. I might not be good at that one, but if I play that, you got to play at least one game of Warzone with me. Like I said, we got to have that happen.
Be scared.
Yes, is a feud.
While
a
you
few
bring up
months that would make it awesome.
While you bring up video games, I didn't get my 15 seconds in the beginning to talk about Mr. John Madden. Rest in peace. He really did drastically change the landscape of the sports gaming industry, and it's kind of
Shit, he changed football.
he definitely changed football, but like the perception of football, I feel as though he changed even more. So, like, more people nobody talks. Let's go play. They did the whole Madden. Madden is such a name in the gaming industry. It's insane. And for the ability that they've used to market that and stuff throughout the years, and he's really taken that platform and ran with it. He's done a ton of charity work and stuff like that. So it's always sad to see somebody like that, an icon, really, perish. So it's rest in peace, John Madden. I just wanted to throw that out before the wrap.
See, Sophia, this is why we love you. We just got to get
Coming
you in
with some fire comments.
Right, we gotta get you in here at the beginning so you can go all the way around. Make sure you go back and you're always good with tweeting us on Twitter. You were seeing those clips from Monday Night Raw. If you've got anything to say about our picks and posts, feel free to throw them at us on social media at them handles there in the corner. She says Bianca Belair. I think she wins the Royal Rumble again and faces off with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania and wins the title back. Wow. I'm not mad at that. That's a good pick. I think Bianca Belair is a great person to put it on.
I feel like that would be the absolute right move, because I was kind of surprised with they built her up so high after that WrestleMania match, and to kind of have that star diminish a little bit at some point, you didn't do all that for nothing, I feel like. And she did a great job.
And they took the title off her quick as shit, in my opinion.
That's what I'm saying. And she did a great job when she was put in that role. So I don't know if it was something maybe behind the scenes or something like that, but from the outside in, she did a great job in the match itself at WrestleMania, and I feel like that would be a great one to do one of the nights, or one of the headlining type events of WrestleMania. Absolutely.
I mean, it very well could happen at this WrestleMania that we got here in Texas, but so that you know what it is, and look at you, see, Sophia just keeps pumping them in here here at the end. Well,
all right.
Yeah, man. But I mean, with that being said, so the reason why they did that, Carmella had caught COVID. So like, even when she was when Bianca walked down to the ring, they were still playing it like it was going to be Carmella. I think Becky was ready to come back, and they just pulled the trigger because they needed somebody to fill in.
Yeah.
All right. She says, I'd love to see Seth and Roman finally get a big feud in their characters now. I think they have a good lead-in story from the Shield to now. Again, we need to give Sophia the motherfucking pencil, okay? We need to give Sophia...
Pencil.
Yeah, the pencil. We got to give Sophia the motherfucking pencil. We gotta give her the motherfucking pencil. We still got one more episode to go. Sophia, I hope you tune in on Thursday. We got to talk about our MMA picks for the same thing for our 2021 picks as we go into 2022. I agree with you 100%. I think that Seth Rollins one would be dope. If I had the pencil, I told you what I think I would do with the pencil. Yeah, we got a lot of good stuff coming. Before we get out of here, Sophia, since we know you are one of our faithful watchers, listeners, however you consume this content, I thought the best way for us to cap this one off, what are some of your favorite shows that we did in the world of pro wrestling in 2021? Either one of you.
Go ahead, man.
Context. What do you mean by?
Well, it doesn't matter. They doesn't have to have any specific reason.
Are you saying when we had guests on, or
it could be a show, it could be a guest, it could be a whatever. What were some of your favorite wrestling shows that we did in 2021?
I feel like that Jimmy Smith one, even though it's a
hybrid
episode. Yeah, that's a real high pin to be able to put on the board. So I feel like that's got to be like my show of the year, because I feel as though that one was like it shows. I mean, of course, I love all our viewership and stuff like that, but it shows that this podcast is continuing to grow when we can garner guests like that. You know,
you heard it here.
Gil,
see,
I'm glad you brought Gil. Gil was great. He was really a truly entertaining interview, and I hope we have him back at some time. He's a great guest to have on.
Well, Gil, if you hear this, I already threw out the challenge, and motherfucker, I ain't scared. I will be back in Vegas for Memorial Day weekend for Double or Nothing. Ryan McKinnell, I need some more breakfast from that breakfast spot, and I'm a man of my word. I ain't scared. Gil Gordado, if you hear this, when I come to Vegas, you got to put me through a workout at Extreme Couture, and we'll film it for the show. Like I said, go ahead.
Honorable mention to our good friend here at the KO3C pod, Uncle Chase. Man, his appearances throughout the year have were always entertaining. The random stares you'd get into the camera, the random outfits,
Pretty sure he was naked.
The full-fledged change of people that we're interviewing mid-interview. Shout out Uncle Chase.
Yeah, he's the shit, man. He's the
Yeah,
shit.
shout out to Uncle Chase. Damn it, Chase. I said I wanted some of your picks for this shit, but you got another chance for MMA on Thursday. You know, maybe he had to get his cat nap in. Sophia, you asked for it. I will film it. We will film that shit somehow in Vegas. That workout will be filmed, or at least parts of it will be filmed. And if you laugh at me, fuck you too. But J-Bone, what was some of your favorites for 2021?
Well, for the short time I've been here, man, and it's been a hell of a ride so far. Thank you guys again for bringing me on to the team this year. But for the short time I've been here, man, I gotta say, D-Mac, hometown boy, dude, that dude, just a Detroit rock and roll star, man. That dude's a rock star in Detroit. I don't care what anybody says. I think my favorite one though would have to be with Shane Taylor, man. I think we really got to see
Shane T, the baddest you ever seen,
time,
boy.
It was the perfect time because of the whole thing with Ring of Honor, but you really got to see his passion for professional wrestling, man, and what he's trying to do. I think it really brought that out of him in the show that he was on here. So that's definitely my favorite one.
Yeah, we definitely had a great, not to interrupt again, but we definitely had a great catalog of wrestling interviews throughout this year. If anybody who had missed any of the shows throughout this last year, all of the guest ones went really well. All of just the ramblings about throughout the wrestling and MMA world. I feel as though we had a great year for the podcast. I know we still got one more episode to go, but
Sophia, we appreciate you, all you guys who are coming to check this out. If you haven't already done so, make sure you hit the motherfucking subscribe button and hit that little bell next to it so that when I come live to run my gums and turn on that sign behind me, you don't miss it. But with that being said, so if we're going wrestling interviews, the Jimmy Smith one will have to rank very high for me because that's the first active guy on the WWE roster that we've been able to get on here. With that being said, I'm going to go a little bit into the bag on this one. My favorite interviews of this year, I will give you a wrestling one, but I'm also going to give you a non-wrestling one. I'm going to go into the bag since our friends from across the pond over there in England said they liked it so much. One of my favorites from this year was our interview with Mike Bennett, who also had a cameo from the beautiful Miss Maria Kanellis, which Maria, you know, the door is open for you as well. And then Mike can be your personal technical support if your internet goes out. So Mike Bennett is one of my picks, but for me personally, my favorite interview of the year has to be my man's Chris Cale from Five Finger Death Punch. That is by far, I think, my favorite interview of the year, being that he spotted us from our interview with Justin James, who a little birdie told me you might be able to see Justin James on here again soon because the Guitar Hero is getting ready to play another riff inside the motherfucking cage coming in February, coming in hot. And Chris Cale said he might be down here freezing his balls off with the rest of us to watch it. So, again, another reason why you need to hit that subscribe button. But hey, I just gave you some more viewing content. I didn't give you some podcast juice, but get you some podcast juice. Check out the past episodes. And like we said, we'll be live here on Thursday to talk about our favorite things from the world of combat sports. We will have the return of our friend Miranda Gordy before she goes to MLW. Follow J-Bone on the Twitter machine. Follow at Detroit Knockout on the Twitter machine. Follow Fight Fan from the 313, even though Corey don't use the damn Twitter. Follow Twitter. Until next time, and in the in-between time, I need to watch my voice before I lose my voice like Jimmy Smith. So, until next time, and in the in-between time, be nice to your mailman. Peace.